Hello, I am Frederick Hannell. I'm the Business Creation Director at EIT Mobility. So welcome to this session, and I'll present some of the urban mobility startup trends that we've seen in our organization. The way we address and operate with startups is we run different programs, the first one being an accelerator program. We also run for slightly more mature companies, the Scale Up Hub and Go Global initiative. We also do investments. And here we are slightly different as an investor. I'll get more into that. And finally, this year, we are also matchmaking startups with investors, VCs, etc., in an access to finance initiative. So this year, we will support the 94 startups. Up to now, we've probably supported close to 170 startups, 10 of those being Israeli. Looking at what kind of startups we work with, we've divided the world according to requests from cities and the city's challenges into a number of different areas. So the first one being active mobility, the second one being sustainable city logistics, creating public realm, future mobility, and mobility and energy. And of course, all the startups that we've worked with so far are of course addressing these challenges. So the first one, active mobility, is pretty much about, well, you might think it's about walking and bicycles, but you know, there are improvements and actually quite interesting innovations taking place there. Some of the learnings are, well, electric bikes and electric scooters are, of course, predominant around all of the world today. Electric bikes, what is the impact? Well, generally, you could say that 50% of all the electric bikes are used as a replacement for cars and car commuting, which is a great impact on the environment, of course, and does address the problem of congestion. As far as the electric scooters is concerned, this is a little bit more questionable. So, I mean, 5% of the scooters' environmental impact comes from the charging. The rest is actually logistics, charging them, and also the scooters, replacing the scooters because they have a reasonably low lifespan. So much of this is changing, of course, but today, scooters are generally have a larger impact on the environment than if you took a bus ride. So looking at innovations, of course, innovations that tend to lower the price of electrical bicycles are of course welcome. Other innovations are new systems, of course, replacing batteries, standardizing batteries for scooters, or lowering the price for the scooters, exceeding the lifespan. There are many initiatives, and as you know, many startups working in this area. Concerning sustainable city logistics, well, of course, the last mile delivery is extremely important and does generate a lot of traffic in the cities. And there are, of course, many startups working in this field. An interesting observation, though, is that, remember, one e-van corresponds to approximately 5 cargo bikes. So even if there are many business models that can motivate a cargo bike and a delivery system based on cargo bikes, you have to remember that the cost of actually having 5 employees to run 5 cargo bikes has to be put into context of 1 driver for an e-van. And I have the perception that this has not really fallen in place yet, and where the trade-off lies. Creating public realm is creating an environment in the cities where the citizens actually have better use of their public space, which basically means taking away the streets from the cars in many cases. And of course, a great example of this is, the city of Barcelona and the Superblock initiative. So it took them 20 years to politically to arrive to the superblocks and implement them. And these similar models are being developed in many cities around the world, Paris, for example, where the idea is that within a block, all the basic services can be reached by the citizens living there, so they don't need to commute. Children should be able to go to schools without any dangerous road crossings. And there should be priority to bike lanes, to bicycles, and to electric vehicles, of course. This is, of course, very, very attractive. If you look at the startups and the innovations there, this is a complex issue. And here, there are not that many startups addressing this kind of evolution, these kind of problems. You could think about data generation, modeling, simulating traffic, roads and the implications on traffic of moving to superblocks. But most political initiatives today also focus on just a part of it. So addressing the whole picture is, of course, a challenge. Future mobility is a lot of different things. I mean, of course, urban air mobility is one important area. Autonomous driving, autonomous cars, remote driving are other examples. I think that the most common one is that fits within this field, for us at least, and for the cities, is mobility as a service. So, of course, mobility as a service addresses many of the critical issues that the cities have. One of those issues is the issue of ownership. Today, if you look at the car ownership around the world, I think about, on average, 17% of a household budget goes to the car and the ownership of the car, but the car is only utilized 5% of the time. And of course, this does not really make sense, especially if you live in the city. A second issue that of course is addressed is the integration between different modes of transport, and the integration between public transport and other alternatives offered, and common ticketing systems. And of course, last but not least, the insights generated to the cities from all of these modes of transport are of course very valuable, because they know how people commute, where they travel, and they can adapt the traffic and the urban planning to actually the way people are traveling. I think that, of course, the insights are something that are very prone to new technologies to provide these insights, and also to provide forecasts for how people are expecting travel to occur. As you know, a vast majority of startups within the urban mobility field are dealing with problems linked to mobility as a service. So mobility and energy is, of course, important as well. And it's not only about the traditional way, the Tesla way of looking at the world. I mean, electrically powered vehicles make a lot of sense, and are of course the solution within a city context. But batteries are not all. So the problem still remains: how do you efficiently power trucks, heavy transports, and even buses and public transport within a city? And there are solutions coming out there with electric rails put down in the streets, and also being put down in motorways or in harbors, in mining contexts where heavy traffic requires a lot of power, but batteries takes away the economic sense of actually going over to electric power, basically. So that is all for me. So I wish you a really great week, and please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any more questions. Thank you so much.